The Freedom Front Plus will launch its elections manifesto in Pretoria later today. The political party is trying to appeal to coloured voters. It's announced Peter Marais as the party's premier candidate in the Western Cape, where it currently has no seat in the legislature. eNCA's Masego Rahlaga joins us now live on this story. Masego, what can we expect from the Freedom Front Plus's election manifesto? I see there's a resurgence of a very old political catchphrase, fight back.
Good morning, Nicolaus. Well, other political parties have already launched the elections manifesto, and of course the Freedom Front Plus, who also have representation in Parliament, will also be telling us exactly what they promise South Africans if they actually end up governing the country or any province in the country. They'll be tabling exactly what it is that they are promising the country in terms of health, education, the economy, and many other issues that have to be addressed as a country. But I do have with me Freedom Front MP and also Head of Elections, Voter Wessel. Thank you so much, Mr. Wessels, for joining us. You're live on eNCA. Just my first question today, are you expecting a lot of people to come and hear you out today at the theatre?
We do expect quite a crowd, but we don't do stadiums for a very simple reason, that it's millions of rands that you spend, and it's actually taxpayers' money that you spend on something like that. It's very important to get the message across. So we are live streaming on YouTube and on Facebook and on other social media platforms and getting the message across, because that's important. But to fill up a stadium, to rent a crowd just for show, we're not in that game. We actually spend the money of the people wisely and responsibly. But we are here today to show that we have solutions to the problems. We have actual solutions, and we can actually provide solutions to the many crises that South Africa are facing.
In terms of the FF Plus and who it is, we all know that the party doesn't necessarily support BEE, for instance. It doesn't support the expropriation of land without compensation, for instance. And so a lot of South Africans, the electorate, would say that the FF Plus is only for, a certain race. What do you say to that, the fact that a lot of South Africans feel as though they can't vote for the FF Plus if they're not white?
I don't think our policies are excluding on any basis. What we say is that empowerment should be driven by growth and by development, not by BEE that only in the last 25 years have only benefited an elite few. And the majority of South Africans are still poor and are still suffering because of unemployment. Our economy is not growing, and we need to grow the economy, not just redistribute what we have. That is just rearranging the chairs on the Titanic's deck. And that's what the ANC has been doing for the past 25 years, is only focusing on redistribution rather than growth and benefiting all South Africans. Our policies are determined to actually benefit all South Africans. We stand for minority group rights because South Africa is a community of communities. We aren't only one group. We aren't only black and white. We have different cultures and we have different groups that all need representation, and that can make South Africa actually great. Our constitution says unity in diversity. We need unity in diversity. We don't have that at the moment. Getting rid of racial quotas, getting rid of race as the determining factor will actually benefit all of South Africans, not only white people, not only colored people, but all South Africans will benefit if the economy grows and if we actually get rid of the proxy of development as race, because that is detrimental to racial relations. It actually reduces a black person to only a skin color. And we need to bring back merit, we need to develop, we need to actually bring the proxy for development as socioeconomic factors and not race.
I just want to ask you also, so in terms of the BEE rule that was brought in 25 years ago and all the stuff that you can't, for instance, ignore the history of the country and the fact that there was a certain racial group or racial groups that were left behind, and a lot of us assume that BEE was to address that. So what would the FF Plus do to address that so that the wealth is shared amongst everyone and it's not left to only one racial group? What exactly would the FF Plus be doing?
Our manifesto actually addresses that, and the big thing is, absolutely, we acknowledge the past. We acknowledge that there are groups that were excluded, and that is why we need to bring economic growth and development. Fact of the matter is that currently 25 years of affirmative action and BEE has not addressed inequality. It has actually created more inequality because a black elite has benefited. Corruption and cadre deployment has been the norm of the day. What we need is a new dispensation where actual development occurs. And the way to do that is to make the proxy of development actual socioeconomic factors. People that are poor, people that are excluded or were excluded from quality education, that should be used as a proxy for development.
Just my last question, and very quickly, when it comes to the expropriation of land, you obviously don't necessarily support Section 25 of the Constitution. So in terms of the fact that there's also white people who are training arms type of training to protect apparently their land, do you support that as the FF+?
No, we don't support war, we don't support violence, and that is why we are against expropriation without compensation. Everywhere in the world it has been proven that expropriation without compensation fails, because what happens is the government is then entrusted the right to own property. No person, black or white, will have the right to own property, and will lose the basic right enshrined in the Bill of Rights. And everybody will, that will be to the detriment of everybody. We need property rights. There is land to redistribute. Government owns most of the land in South Africa. They should redistribute it, and corruption should stop involving land reform projects.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wessels, for your time. Well, Nick, there you have it, also taking a jab, obviously, at those political parties who use stadiums, apparently using state money to actually, rent crowds and have those manifestos at those big stadiums.
That was, of course, eNCA's Masego Rahlaga, bringing us the very latest from the Freedom Front Pluses.